This podcast is brought to you by the School of Advanced Study, University of London.
If there was one event that really destroyed the apartheid government, it was the Soweto Uprising of 1976. After all, the government had been in power, the apartheid government, since 1948. The ANC was in exile, so was the Pan-Africanist Congress, and people were really quiescent. They were not taking on the government. Black people, white people, all lived in a sullen mass under this new government, which brought in some of the most repressive racist legislation the world has ever known. But in 1976, almost like a bolt from the blue, the children of Soweto decided that enough was enough, and in the old saying, which was not their own but they adopted it, that they would rather die on their feet than live on their knees. And they took to the streets. I was a young student at the University of the Witwatersrand, which was of course a segregated university. There were only white students there at the time. And we first heard that this was taking place, and we blacked out the wall of the Students' Representative Council and then painted up the numbers of the people that were killed, the children that were being shot down in their tens on the streets. We didn't know it at the time. We wrote 6, 7, 8, 10 people had been shot. And then we took to the streets ourselves. And we marched through the centre of Johannesburg. First, there were only 10, 15, 20, perhaps 50 of us that marched. But soon we were joined on the streets by black people who came out in their thousands and joined us. And we made really quite a strong protest. But what we were doing was nothing really. Because although we were broken up a bit by the police at one time, nobody shot at us. We were white students. Nobody was going to take us on. It was the young black children in Soweto who were being shot down, and not just a few. We thought that perhaps 20, 30, 40 were shot on that first day. We were quite wrong. 175 to 200 children were murdered by the police, who shot using live ammunition directly into them. It was an awful event. But it transformed South Africa, because those children went on to form the bedrock of the United Democratic Front. Many of them fled into exile. They went to join the ANC, the PAC, other organizations, and they came back and they really transformed society. And I think if that's one thing that it teaches us, the Soweto Uprising teaches us that it's not the organized movements that generally change society. Sometimes they do, but very often it's just ordinary people deciding that enough is enough, they will not accept it anymore, and doing what they can to make their society a better one under which they can possibly live and really have a decent standard of life. And if there's anybody that really should take credit for South Africa as a democratic, free society, it is the children of Soweto.